Welcome to another surf report, everybody. This is a day late, than our normal time, but it's a big week, really big week. For those of you who were here last time and understood that T-square concept, that's still in play. And for those of you who weren't here last week, we'll go through that, and the energies are a little bit different surrounding that T-square anyway, so it's going to have to be talked about extensively. We have a full moon on Friday the 13th. And so let's look at our summary slide. This is a big week. And it's not really one of those weeks that has a lot of, like three-dimensional physical feel-good stuff. It's like the kind of the repetitive tasks, the things that need to be done. That's this week. There's so much more to this. So we're going to be releasing egoic attachments. That's according to the astrology throughout the week. And I'll talk more about that later. We have the last half of that mega T square, and we have a full moon in Pisces. That's the astrology. And it's big astrology. There's strong influences that are coming through. And when we look over at the dream bot, this is the collection of dreams around the world. And those, as of an hour ago, I just ran the dream bot, and it's saying it's the strength to endure. And we're going to need this strength to endure, this T-square stuff, and the Saturnian and Plutonian energies. Okay, that's right here in the diagram, right in the heart of the overlap. And then the I-Ching reading is 29. It's called the Abysmal. And don't get too scared. There's a solution to this, and it's a beautiful ending. So don't go anywhere. We're going to talk about the Dreambot extensively. We're also going to get through day-to-day astrology, and then we'll finally get into the solutions at the end and how we need to behave to maximize this energy. All right, let's get started on the Dreambot. Dreambot is a collection of dreams. We basically have two big memes throughout this. This is unusual to see the word dream and dreams together very high. It's very common to see the word dream actually in the collective dreams, but not together and not this high. So that's relatively unusual. Palm, view, hide, movie, high, spiritual. You have this very spiritual, transpersonal feel to it. And that's Neptune. The red is all Neptune. That's part of, it's going to be the front and center entity for the T-square all by itself until the full moon arrives over Neptune for the full moon on Friday. So that is no wonder why people are already dreaming about the Neptune, because that's going to be very strong influence all this week. I'll show you that in the charts later. Then the other one is what I talked about earlier, which is the endurance and the strength. And what is this? In general, Neptune is going to throw some illusions our way, and it's not going to be based in fact. And we might even feel this alternative reality as real, and it's not real, and it's probably going to get a lot of us down or scare us or whatever. But we're going to get a face full of reality. Like that's the Saturnian Pluto. And again, I'll talk all about this when we get into the astrology. This is kind of just a summary overview of the astrology. It's overlapped with the Dreambot. So in order to face the Saturnian energies and the shoulds and the demands of Saturn and Pluto, we need endurance and strength, and that's exactly what the collective is showing us. So we see both of those. We see one of the issues, one of the potential problems is Neptune, but we also have the solution in the collective unconscious. All right. Now, for those of you who got lost through that, have no despair. Stick with me because we're about ready to explore the astrology. Let me get the pointer focus out. And here we are again. For those of you who were here last week, you saw this T-square. Let me talk a little bit about it. You have a stellium of 4 planets, Mars, Sun, Mercury, Venus, And when you have all of these together in the same bit of sky, it's not so easy to differentiate, say, for example, Venus and Mercury. So like relationships, beauty and harmony with mind, thoughts, rational logic, those start to meld together. And then when you include the sun, that's like ego. And so the ego is kind of melded with that. And then the desire to fight and move forward and get stuff done, that's Mars, is all together. And so what do you call that energy? Well, last week we kind of hypothesized that some people are going to feel a little bit crazy just with that energy alone. But then you put that, pit that against Neptune, opposite Neptune. And now you've got imagination that's kind of squirreling or screwing with you because it's not based in reality. And you maybe are imagining a more expansive or a better state, or imagining better luck. That's Jupiter, but it's all squared off. See, this is the T-square. When you get 290 degrees and in opposition, that's a T-square. And it's kind of a trap. You get trapped in this and you just go round and round, but the energy is blocked. It's not easy energy. Now you do see some green lines here, and these are trine from the stellium over to Saturn and Pluto. And now from last week, the moon is already past it, but it's also making another trine. So we are looking at a very strong, healthy channel, but normally Saturn kind of feels cold and puts hardships in the way and hurdles and obstacles. But it also chisels us. Saturn shows us how to pursue. It shows us grit, and once we make it through that, we're a better person on the other side. Pluto is the destroyer, and it's very transformative. It's very powerful and intense. The moon represents our emotions, but this is all the solution, because our ego, sun, amidst all these other planets, is naturally wants to go to Jupiter, which is very lucky and feel goods, and it's optimistic and it's expansive, but it's squared off. So that energy can't readily go there. You're going to create problems. It's going to be conflicted when you do that. So the easy way through this energy that flows the best is Saturn and Pluto and the moon, at least on Monday. Again, this is Monday, the 9th of September. Incidentally, look at these. Most of these aspects that we're making with the moon, are deep in the night. And that's going to be true for quite a few of these aspects. That's just something to note. And then also of note is that last week, the stellium was making more of an emphasis on Saturn, but all these planets are pretty much past that point now. And so the emphasis is more on Pluto. And Pluto, again, is death and regeneration. It's power and control, but hidden power. And so we're going to be tapping into our hidden power. And this is going to be a transformative experience, especially for ego. Because ego would rather go over here, but can't, to Jupiter. And so ego has to go mainly towards Pluto. And so ego is going to get a face full of transformation this week, and chiseled with the work of Saturn. And so we need some grit. And that's what the I-Ching reading said, but we're going to get to that later. So let's not get too sidetracked. So Monday is the same as last week, but more emphasis to Pluto. And the ego is not getting necessarily what he or she wants. And it's not that feel-good feeling. It's not dread. It's just an inner knowing that I'm doing the right thing. I'm doing what needs to get done. I mean, let's face it. The stellium is in Virgo, and Virgo is very detail-oriented and just get it done. It doesn't miss anything, very detailed in their to-do lists. And so you have your natural inclination to, what needs to get done. Saturn's going to show you. And so you got to go do it. And as you go do it, this is a regeneration of your ego. All right. That's a foreshadowing for later. All right. So now as we get into Tuesday, the moon's going to make a square to Uranus. And that could really make some quick disruptive change. It's early in the morning, so you might have something drastically different on Tuesday morning. Emotionally, you might feel emotionally different. We still have this trine over here is still weighted to Pluto, and that's not going to really change. But the sun, ego, is going to make a direct opposition at 2:23 a.m. So as we are sleeping, most of us, 2:23 a.m. Central Daylight Time, Neptune is going to make an opposition to ego. And so look at your dreams that night. On the morning of Tuesday morning when you wake up, see if you have some dreams related to, like your wants, your desires, things that are going to make you feel better or make you feel like you want to escape. That's ego, okay? And see if you have a lot of ego dreams. It would be surprising if you didn't. But that's going to be the emphasis on this T-square now, is ego, and ego imagining something better, the greener pastures on the other side. But it is about survival. And why is that? Well, because remember, the sun is also making that easy trine over to Pluto. And Pluto, remember, that kind of death stuff, that's death regeneration. So that can make ego scared, but we don't need to be scared because this is all our life plan. This is our soul's plan, not ego. We're not here for our ego. We need to use ego for soul's plan. And so sun is going to make an easy feeling of survival in this case. So see if your dreams are about survival, maybe running from the bad guy, or maybe, losing your wallet in your dream, or something, that kind of indicates that your ego is suffering in your dream. Let's see. Or, or maybe extreme ecstasy in your dreams with ego. I mean, you can easily have that. So Neptunian extremes in your dreams. All right, try that one. All right, on Wednesday, we have a brief emotional relief because the moon is tapping into what was closed off before. This is a sextile, moon sextile Jupiter, but, it's in the middle of the night. So it's not going to be real helpful during the day because by the time you wake up in the morning, the moon will have progressed too far past that sextile. But anyway, your dreams might be showing some expansiveness and some emotional relief. But ego still isn't satisfied. Now, as the moon heads towards Neptune and towards the full moon, then this is Thursday now. This is the day before the full moon. We have Mars square Jupiter. Mars is down here in the stellium. Makes a perfect square over to Jupiter. And this is going to be the last. The reason why this is important is because it's the last part of the T-square. Because as soon as Mars and Sun progress about 5 more degrees-ish, 5 or 6 more degrees, there is no more square over here, over to Jupiter. And that's going to be probably by the end of the weekend. Or, So anyway, the T-square itself will largely be disintegrated by beginning of next week. And in addition, the T-square, incidentally, will go away as the trine, the channel goes away. So the solution goes away with the quote-unquote problem. All right, but Thursday is a potentially painful lesson in that you don't know as much as you thought you did. That's Mars. Mars wants to go do and forceful and move forward, and it's squared with Jupiter. Jupiter is deeper knowledge, deeper knowing, advanced knowledge, advanced spiritual knowledge. And Mars doesn't care. Mars just wants to go do stuff. And so it's meeting face to face with deeper knowledge. After this is said and done, you're going to have a deeper understanding of life itself, of ego, of everything in this stellium. You'll have a deeper understanding of that, but it may not feel so good going through it. Now we get into Friday, and here's where everything changes. First of all, I'd like to point out that Mercury's, the stellium is starting to break up. Mercury's making a conjunction with Venus at 10 a.m., 10:16 a.m. Central Daylight Time. And that's important because these two are starting to separate itself. You're going to see Venus and Mercury going off into Libra together. And then the Sun and the Mars will stay together as it makes an opposition to the Moon for the full moon later. I'm going to have a separate slide for the full moon, but this is the time, basically the time of sacrifice. What is the sacrifice all about? Well, the solution that we keep talking about is Sun trine Pluto. Sun is ego, Pluto is inner power and death and destruction, death and regeneration. It makes a perfect trine with Pluto at 2:42 p.m. The full moon is later. It's 11:32 p.m. So in this trine, ego easily destroys itself and regenerates and is transmuted. And again, Pluto, Uranus, Saturn, they don't necessarily feel really good. So this death and regeneration might feel a little bit wonky, especially for ego. And that's Friday afternoon. That's about 8-9 hours prior to the full moon. Your ego is going to be part of your ego is going to get ready for a transformation. Let's make that a little bit more clear. Because if I say ego is getting ready to die, I don't even like that term, because if we have no ego, then our soul has no vehicle in which to do its life mission. So let's not be killing ego. That's a misnomer in the New Age movement, I think. But anyway, you've got that in the afternoon. That's a monumental pivot point as we get closer to the full moon. And then Moon is making a sextile over to Saturn and Pluto. You have a mega sextile over here. So the emotions all get deeper understanding about this and deeper feelings about this regeneration transformation process. Now let's look a little bit later in the day. By the way, Moon is making a conjunction with Neptune at 3:42. So you've got 2:42, Sun trine Pluto. Ego's going to feel like it's being sacrificed. Moon conjunct Neptune at 3:42, an hour later. Things get really dreamy. You might even have hallucinations. You might have a real need for escape, but don't escape, and don't trust the feelings and the imaginations, but just be there with that, because it could give you clues as to the solution that I'm about ready to talk about. Now, a few hours later, you're going to have the full moon. This is at 21 degrees, 5 minutes of Pisces, the moon, and it's basically still conjunct with Neptune. And of course, the sun's in Virgo. The ego's in, the lands of the shoulds and the task list and the take care of yourself attitude. But we are in a moment of needing to release that which we understood before as the ego attachments. This is the time of releasing. Okay, so if the sun is about yang and pushing forward and creating, the moon is about like the vacuum emotion, taking in, but it only can take that which you give it. And this is not a time to be starting new projects necessarily. That's more of like a new moon. And this full moon is an opportunity to take advantage of this big, healthy sextile channel to Pluto and big, healthy trine channel to the Sun and Pluto. Pluto is part of this solution, and Pluto is the destroyer. Pluto is the hidden power. Your hidden power is about getting rid of any part of ego that is keeping you back from your soul's mission. Nothing else. There's no gain here. There's no ego gain here. And if you're doing any ceremony or anything about the full moon that serves ego, you're going to start to see problems. This is about not serving ego. This is about removing in your egoic needs, your 3D body, your material body, your kind of your animalistic side. It's taking away that part of you so that your soul can produce a powerful plan here on earth. This is a time of letting go. This is 11:32 Central Daylight Time. Letting go to that whole energetic process. It's the solution, the antidote for the T-square, but it's only for, a couple hours because the moon transits so fast. This channel opens up, and it's about Pluto getting, letting Pluto do his work as you give to the moon this egoic attachment that's been keeping you from progressing further as a soul, not as ego. It's not going to feel good. You're not going to get endorphins and all that. It's going to be an inner knowing. All right, then Saturday, Venus and Mercury head into Libra. So relationships, Venus is home of Libra, so things get relationally a lot more harmonious. Thoughts are around relationships still and beauty, and less about this whole should thing. So, you're preparing on that full moon. You're basically preparing for it's a much better energy starting next week with that Libra harmony and the lack of the T-square. The last of the T-square, Mars and Neptune make its opposition. And that marks the beginning of the end of this T-square. You might be thinking illusions of people might be picking fights with you when it's really not the case. Remember these oppositions, and Neptune can be tricky. So again, I don't think people really are picking with you. It's just going to be an illusion. Now here's Sunday. The T-square basically begins to fade, especially as this solution, what used to be the solution, the Saturn-Pluto, is squared off to the emotions now. And so that's really marks the kind of the middle of the end. And then as we head into next week, really that T-square is not going to be there. All right. So now let's look at the solution. Whew. I know there's a lot here. Thanks for hanging with me. When we threw the coins, we had hexagram 29 with absolutely no change lines. And we dictated and said, if there are change lines, that would be the best solution. So what this implies now is that 29 is both the influence and the solution, and it's called the abysmal. What we have here is basically two trigrams that are exactly the same on top of each other. Water over water. And it's the abysmal. Does that match or what? It's crazy. It matches perfectly, but the neat thing here is that in the Book of Changes, we have some great solutions within this. So I want to go over those now. I'm going to read a little bit here. This is hexagram 29. It's also known as the water because it's water over water. The name of the hexagram, because the trigram is doubled, has the additional meaning repetition of danger. Wow, doesn't that feel like Saturn, Pluto? Thus, the hexagram is intended to designate an objective situation in which one must become accustomed, not a subject, not, okay, let me read that again. Intended to designate an objective situation to which one must become accustomed, not a subjective attitude. What the heck does that mean? Here's the judgment. The abysmal repeated, if you are sincere, you have success in your heart, and whatever you do succeeds. If you are sincere, what does that mean? That means that you can't be going out getting ego wants. And it's not so clear. Just the activity or just the behavior itself does not indicate whether or not it's ego or soul that's doing this deed. So for example, like you're going out for you're giving to charity, giving money to, you're donating to charity. But that alone does not mean that you're doing it right for the right intention. So let's say someone is doing it because they want recognition. Well, that's ego. So that activity or that behavior is not better than any other activity in this scenario because it's done for the ego. So as long as it's done for the soul, then it's pure intentions. And if you are sincere, so you've got to keep everything you do in check this week. In particular, you've got to not be doing things just because ego wants it. In fact, look for those things. Look for what ego wants, because those are the things you're going to give up on Friday at the full moon so that your soul can manifest a stronger life journey. Let me do some more reading. This is a crazy important, particularly the end of what I'm going to read. This is going to be kind of a long paragraph. Towards the end, I'll emphasize it, and that will be our solution. All right. Through repetition of danger, we grow accustomed to it. Water sets the example for the right conduct under such circumstances. It flows on and merely fills up all the places through which it flows. It does not shrink from any dangerous spot, nor from any plunge, and nothing can make it lose its own essential nature. It remains true to itself under all conditions. And remember, we want to be true to soul, not to ego. Thus, likewise, if one is sincere when confronted with difficulties, the heart can penetrate the meaning of the situation. And once we have gained inner mastery of a problem, it will come about naturally that the action we take will succeed. In danger, all that counts is really carrying out all that has to be done, thoroughness, and going forward in order not to perish through tarrying in the danger. Wow, isn't that crazy? This is hexagram 29 is the absolute exact situation is what we have with the trine over to Saturn and Pluto. Saturn is kind of danger, but mainly Pluto danger. And Saturn says you got to keep on going. And then Virgo says you got to keep on going. Now ego wants to go over to Jupiter, but it can't. And so it has to keep on going. And so this is the abysmal. It's a direct overlap. And so the answer is, the solution is, keep on going. Keep on going on what you should be doing. Keep on going on your soul's path. But also look carefully, because you can even be on your soul's path and you can have those hidden unconscious ego desires, like getting more things or to feel good. Don't do things just for the body to feel good. That's more of an escape. So, like even in the example of donating, if you're doing it to feel good, that's not the reason why, at least in this week. And it's going to set you back. Make your intentions pure. If you're only doing it to feel good, then don't do it. Even if it's a very giving, heartfelt activity, even if most people that watched you do it would say, oh, they're such an admirable person, don't do it if it's not pure. And what's pure is I'm doing it for soul. And one important thing as we head towards this full moon, and we keep talking about soul's path versus ego. How do I know if I'm on my soul path? Well, basically, you take your egoic talents, your skill sets, what you've learned over the years, and you also take your passions. This was hard to differentiate between ego and soul, but it's passion. You have a passion for certain things. Take all those together, your skills and your passions, and when you apply it towards adding value to other people's lives, that's your soul path. So if you aren't on it, then this week you seek to get on that soul path. And how are you going to add value to other people's lives based on your biggest talents and biggest passions in this world? Okay, everything else for just feel good or a brief high or an endorphin rush or norepinephrine bump or a dopamine rush, whatever, those are ego. That's not soul. And soul is just does their work because that's who they are, not because they're going to get something in return. And that's the stance we got to take. Now, the kicker on Friday is, as you've kind of practiced this protocol of soul living, then you look at what ego is doing to keep you back from your soul path. So for example, if maybe you're shopping too much and using all your money on ego clothes or ego wants this or that, you could be applying that money towards your soul's mission and with a true intention. So anyway, you do that with all the things. So if money's keeping you back, egoic money spending, then you're going to give that up to the full moon and Pluto and transform that experience so that you don't have that holding you back anymore from your life mission. All right. And you can use it across the board: sex addictions, gambling addictions, drug use. It doesn't have to be unhealthy stuff. Maybe it's codependency. So, you got relation stuff and it looks like you're a loving person, but it's for the wrong intentions. It's for ego, not soul. So check all your intentions, and even in your healthy or seemingly healthy activities. All right, that's it. I don't have any solution slides to give out. I just ran out of time, but it is the Abysmal, folks. It may not feel good to ego, but this is Soul Path Week. And get on that train and just do the work. It's an extension of last week. It's a 2-week T-square period, but with definite soul progression and getting rid of at least one ego thing on Friday at 11:32 p.m. Central Daylight Time. Go do it, people, and let me know how it goes. We'll try to do another video, another little reminder, maybe a brush up on Thursday night. No promises though, but looking forward to touching base with you again. Thanks everybody for your patience and for being here and all your shares and comments. Have a great week. Let's do it.